9.0.5 PTR got updated. We got some legendary tuning for mage. Some more free content. Let's get into it. There's some PvP tuning sprinkled in here, but this is stuff that's already happened on live, so they're just updating for the PTR. Right off the bat, we have the Arcane Legendary, the Arcane Harmony. Each time Arcane Missiles hits an enemy, the damage of your next Arcane Barrage is increased by 8, up from 7, and the effect stacks up to 18 times, up from 15. This was heavily nerfed, I think, right towards the end of the beta. I think it used to be like 10% and 100 times or something, or I don't remember it exactly. So just a small buff to this. I think the best legendaries for Arcane right now are the Time Warp one and the Barrage one. So just a buff on a slightly underutilized legendary. Which is going to be the theme throughout this. They're just buffing legendaries that no one's really using. More PvP changes already happened. Fire, that's all we had for Arcane. Fire, Molten Skyfall now takes 18 fireballs or pyroblasts instead of 25 to drop a meteor. Probably still won't be used, but it's fun. This one's kind of interesting. Sun King's Blessing, after consuming 8 instead of 12 hot streaks, which is quite a big difference. What is that, like 25%? I don't know, math. But quite a few less hot streaks. Your next non-instant cast pyro within 15 seconds grants you combustion for 6 seconds. Now, is this going to be better than the Pyretic Incantation or Firestorm that we're already using? It's hard to say. Probably not, but I think it has promise. This is a big number, going from 12 to 8. That's a big deal. And an extra 1 second on the combust is pretty good. I mean, if you think about it, if you can line this up to where you've got maybe a Phoenix Flames and a Fire Blast, and maybe that's your second rune, and you shoot that off, this is 6 seconds of 100% crit, which is going to give you with Kindling, it's going to give you quite a few seconds off your combust, which is already going to take like your 50-second cooldown combust down to maybe like 40 seconds. Something to think about. You do have to stand still and cast a pyro. We'll see how it ends up. Frost, this is where things get interesting. Casting, now they've cut this in half. 30 frost bolts or flurries instead of 60. Something to keep in mind is that every flurry that you cast with a brain freeze proc fires off 3 snowballs. Each snowball counts. So if you fire off a flurry, that's like shooting off 3. So frost bolts or flurries calls down a frozen orb at your target, hitting them in player counts as double, whatever. It's kind of interesting. Still probably won't be used. I mean, just calling down a random frozen orb in places isn't the best. In a pure single target fight where the boss is never going to move, maybe, but this is the scary one right here. Freezing Winds. This legendary was changed so many times in beta. They would buff it, and then they would nerf it, and they would buff it, and they would nerf it. They have buffed it again. While Frozen Orb is active, you gain Fingers of Frost every 2 seconds instead of 3. That's big. That's a lot of fingers. That's a lot of fingy boys, okay? Frost Mage Rising, question mark? This is pretty insane. On top of like the 20% damage buff they've already gotten on live, a buff to a legendary like this, I know it's not what they're using. I think they use Glacial Fragments and the Slick Ice right now. But this is kind of scary. This looks like something that could be something. This is what makes me upset. I hate this legendary, and they're buffing it. Casting Frostfire Arcane spell within 10 seconds of each other, increase your critical strike damage of all your spells by 20% instead of 15. This already seemed really good, but no one plays it because it's like a pain to play. But with a 5% buff on this, could be insane. I saw someone say, I was watching Max's stream, and he was reading over these changes. And someone was like, oh, this is worthless for fire. No, it's not. It's actually really good for fire. It's probably the best for fire out of all 3 specs. Because this is crit damage, not crit chance. So what the guy was talking about in Max streams, he thought it was crit chance. So fire already has 100% crit chance in combust. Why does this matter? It's not crit chance, it's crit damage, which is how much damage your crits do. Insane, since all of our damage is crits during combust. An extra 5% on top of that is pretty good. And you can activate this by obviously casting Fireball for your fire spell. And you can just Frost Nova counter spell to activate this. And then you've got 10 seconds of 20% more damage basically in your combust. Pretty insane. I don't like the legendary, but it could be pretty good. Something to keep an eye out for. Expanded potential. This is another one that I hate. One of those generic, boring ones. Fireball, Frostbolt, Arcane Blast have a chance to give you expanded potential, which causes your next proc based on your spec. Hot Streak, Brain Freeze, or Clear Casting to not be consumed. Just buff the proc rate of it. That's fine. It's probably still really bad and no one will ever use it. But if you liked it and you wanted to use it for some reason, it's a bit buffed. It's whatever. Soulbind Conduits. Shifting Power. Discipline of the Grove Conduit for the Night Phase. Shifting Power reduces the mage ability cooldowns by an additional 4.0 seconds over 4 seconds. Interesting. So nothing actually changed. I'm guessing they're just throwing that in there so that they can make conduits that go like 4.5 instead of they having to go from 4 to 5. So it's just an interesting change. So there's a bit of free content, letting you know what's up with the Mage Legendary tuning. GG.